All right, so what we're going to get into today is first I'm going to build something I'm going to build the quiz part that you just did. And then we're going to talk more about trims and what's your homework for this weekend. And I'll go through a few of the things to do for that. I probably won't build any on here, but maybe we'll do some in class and you guys can watch my thought process and we can record it again. Okay, so what we're looking at here is me searching the internet, trying to find some good examples of what we want for our trim sheets. The first thing we need to do with trim sheets is to try and find some repetitive stuff to do. So I went on there and I found this guy. I found this guy actually a couple semesters ago for to do something that 3DMR1 class did. And I passed it on, so you might have seen it before, but this guy is insane. He works for a movie company or does props for that kind of stuff. So he got to go crazy and try and build everything he could think of. Anyway, but all I was looking for is repetitive things that we could use over and over again, like grates or like, and then I found this also piece, which is really cool. This thing right here, and these pieces and stuff like that. And then I put them into a page, but you can see they're pretty limited. So really not what we want to do when we're trying to do this. Hold on one second. So as you can see, it's hard to get some real definition off of these right here. So I went out and looked some more. I found some other kit bash, or they call them kit bash, but they're also trim sheets. These are some pretty cool ones here. These are some pretty cool ones here. I've made my own, so we're going to look at those. These are some pretty cool ones here, but this is what we're talking about, these things down here. Now, he set this, or she set this up this way, I'm sure, because they want to use it as a set piece. But all these little things right here we want to do. So here's another good example. And this is an I just wanted to show you this one because it doesn't matter if it matches the trims. So what we ended up doing, what I think we're going to do is pick a lot of these on here, maybe do all of them. At least that's for homework. For now, I'm going to show you how to do one of the things that's very common is something like this. Then we'll do something like this, maybe this, and then probably this one. I don't know if we're going to do this one. I'm not real crazy about, because a lot of the stuff you have to do is Boolean. Anyway, yeah. The other thing I want to point out is that we are going to now talk about everything I've told you not to do for years. Let me unhide it all in here. This is the kind of stuff that we have that you're looking at. Not the sphere. It was a test. So we're going to use these kind of shapes and we're going to end up putting them in part of our trim sheet. Or we're going to use them on our trim sheet. So if we look at this, this is the trim sheet. You guys are going to make a trim sheet for the mechanical stuff, and you're going to bake it, or you're going to make the trim sheet, and you're going to fill up a little over half. I mean, if we look at this right here, I've made it into 8 segments, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8 segments. If we go to, here on the trim sheet and make different trims, you can double it up if you need to. Try not to be lazy about it. Try and get as many as you can. This stuff here is going to help us, and then the stuff we make more today. Some of these things I found places are paid for. A lot of them I've made, so we're going to come back and deal with these as we go. Okay, so this is what we're doing today. Now for your quiz, let me hide everything, and we're going to hide selection. Oops. Hide unselected. Okay. So we want to make one of those round screw type things here, or nuts or whatever. But you see how it goes in and out? I guess let me show you one more thing before we get started on that. So let me hide this. And then we're going to look at this down here. This is my built trim sheet. And what is it really made of? All these pieces, there's some stuff that I need to clean up that I haven't gotten back to yet. It's not straight in some places. But first off, if I click on it, you'll see that it's a symmetry. So I'm only doing half the work again. I mean, that's the idea, or a quarter of the work in this case. And I even didn't cut this one off, and I probably should have. But okay. So this looks great and everything, and if I bring this over to Substance, I get this bake here, which is really nice, really flat, and then you see it this way, it's nice. All the stuff we're doing with our trim sheet is added stuff, so we make this really simple geometry, or some more simple geometry, and then we cut in where we need to put this, is the theory. One theory, the first theory. So we're going to let me take a look at this though. Interesting. Oh, I'm like, why is that not? Okay. So if we look at this, and I take this off, and we look at this a little bit closer, you're going to see that there's a bunch of stuff that's just sitting above the ground. Okay, there's really, if I go to the front view and I zoom at it, you'll see that everything is floating. I even can do some collapsing. So that's one of the things I want to point out when we start doing these trim sheets, is that you get to break every rule. You can use Boolean as long as it looks good in the end. That's all that matters. It doesn't have to be clean. It doesn't have to be efficient. It just needs to be right. And so when you look at this stuff, you'll see that some of this stuff is working. I've got to fix some smoothing groups or whatever. And some of the stuff isn't, but all of this stuff, if we take it this way, you can see that's a floating piece, and that's a floating piece, and that's a floating piece. I didn't have to cut any extra stuff inside of here to make it work. That's how trim sheets work. That's why they're awesome, and that's why we're going to keep plugging away at them. Okay, hide selection. Let's go back to what we're doing. So I want to make that shape again right here or something like that. First we got to start with that push in and then round it out. So it's like a round nut or screw or bolt or whatever you want to call it. So how do we do that? Well, over a lot of planning and looking through stuff, I don't want to use a sphere because the sphere's got a weird top to it. I don't want to use a box, because if you do a box like we've talked about before, like this, and then we do a turbo smooth on it, and then even if we do a couple of them, we're going to end up getting a kind of a square object. That's really not what we want either. So one of the things I figured out or played with is a cylinder. So if we're going to do a cylinder, and I think these are defaulted to 8 sections like this. We want it to be 6, and only because I figured out a few things with this 6. And then the sides doesn't really matter. You can have the interior faces. We're actually going to get rid of some of that stuff, but for now 6 is all we want. So if we go to the top here, let me show you what happens. Turn off that grid and turn on a turbo smooth on it. It's keeping that round flame angles, but it doesn't get weird in the middle. And the cool thing about it is when we're actually modeling, we're using as least amount of polys as we can. So it gets really simple to make it clean. So let's go ahead and collapse this down. I'm going to get rid of the turbo smooth here real quick. Collapse it down to an oval poly so we can mess with what we want. We're only going to keep, obviously, at least half of this. We're probably going to cut it in half again and do symmetry stuff on it, but for now, we just really care about the top view. So what I was going to show you is if we do turbo smooth, and then I take this vert right here, actually I'm going to delete that one, do this, and then if I take this edge 3, I pull it down, turbo smooth does a lot of work for us. I mean, I think it's on 2, let's do 2. Like that, I mean, automatically you can see just by having one little vert on one little edge pulled in, it makes a huge difference. Well, let's try it if we go out. Oh my gosh, it looks like our screw or nut or bolt. Okay, so we're going to come back out here, actually grab this edge, and it should have grabbed the bottom, yep. And then if we scale it, in this case, we're actually going to try and do, what I'm looking at right now is doing, sorry, I keep putting this off screen here, doing this part right here. So now I've got the form that I like. I just need to do this edge on the outside. And it's got a soft edge and a sharp interior. So I know some of you are probably going, I didn't realize that. Well, that's the whole point of these little quizzes. Okay, so if I go up or I go down just a little bit just to get a hard edge, and then I go back up, I'm going to get what I kind of want. It's T. You know what? I'm just going to go up first. Let's see what we get. Yeah. Okay. And then I'm going to scale it out. Dunk. And now I'm getting what I want. Top Z. Something like that. I can do this. Get rid of it. I think I went straight. It kind of looks like I tilted it, but I don't think I did. I think that's the lighting. Let's turn off the high quality and go to standard. Or let's go to performance. Let's just do high quality. It's going to give me shadows anyway. What we can probably do real quick is take display. Sorry, it's on this one. Lighting and shadows. Turn off the shadows. Turn off the ambient occlusion. Still not very helpful, but they're trying to give us another thing we could do is that. There we go. That's really what we want. Okay. Okay, so we have a nice clean bevel pop up thing like that. And we could be done at this point. We could just say, okay, we're done. And let's take a look at some more of these real quick. So we've got that, and then I think there was a couple others that I liked. Some of these are cool. They have a little bit more to them, and you can see they're all floated too, like we were talking about a minute ago. These are cool. So you can see all of these forms are doable. In fact, we'll do a couple of these in a minute, just because they look cool. But if we go to another one here, like this is simple. This one's already done almost, right? So if we take a look at this, and we look at that, it's close. All I have to do is pull this in a little bit more just to get enough of a thing. Now, if I want this to be sharper, then I'm going to come in and use my my swift loop on the bottom here and pop it right there. Well, that's not the one I meant. Let me get close to where I'm going here. Yeah, again, sometimes it's easier. Oh, because they're right on top of each other. That's what's the problem. So I did a mistake here. I want to grab not that one, this one, and just scale it out enough to see what's going on. You know, it doesn't have to be a lot. Okay. So now it's rounded right there, and we want to get that a little bit sharper. So we're going to take this and just do that edge right there. That. We'll come back up to Turbo Smooth real quick. See, maybe it needs to be 3, but there's your 3 now. See? So if we take this, again, back down here, and we go edge, and we grab this, and then we say either cap, we've got a nice edge, or if you want, you can do the old school this, and then take 2 every other, like I've talked to you before about, and make quads all the way around. That gives me, what's the difference? Well, this gives me the opportunity to make this even more rounded as it goes up. Okay, so now I've got one. After you build that one, you know, you're on your way. And that may be sharper than we want, maybe not as sharp as we want. It's up to you how you want to play it. Top Z. Okay, so we're going to copy this. Now we got 2. We're going to take a look at how we would do that one we were talking about before. Let me see. It's this one. We're going to try and do something like this. I'm not going to worry about these edge corners things here. but we're going to do the this part of it, the hexagon thing inside of there. So let's take a look at what we have. So there's a few things I looked at with this one, and you can see the smoothing groups are off on here, and that's totally fine. And if you want, you could even cut you could have pulled these out and give yourself some more room, but we're not going to dance with that. So actually, you know what, maybe we will. I'm going to pull this out a little bit more. There. So this is stiff, but it's got more around there. Okay. Turn that off. Turn this off. Yeah. So I'm going to do that because it'll help us in the end. I'm going to delete this one, copy this one over. Oh, let's name this bolt. Round. There we go. So we've got one. We'll shift and drag it over, and we'll start looking at this one. Hide this. So that took me, less than 16 minutes, only because I'm talking to you. And that's what we're looking for your quiz this morning, to get something that clean, that smooth, that perfect. Moving on from that, we're going to do that hexagon thing inside of here. So the cool thing about this, you would think, and actually is, I'm just going to, is that if we look at it, it was a hexagon already. So it would seem that if you think about it, super easy way to fix this problem. And I used to Boolean stuff like this and then clean forever, but I'm just going to do this. And then we're going to have to do some stuff to it. So don't think it's that easy, because watch what happens when I go extrude in that far and then scale in and then scale in again. And then I do turbo smooth. It's a round hole, which, by the way, is not a bad thing to have. And you probably could do a copy of this before you even move on. Take this, go R, and then do R. I'm sorry, I'm so used to doing it with connect this. That may be fine, and probably this edge and that edge. They're just ugly. So we got one. I'm going to come back in here and call this bolt round hole, like that, maybe. Go back to top Z, and then we're going to shift and drag a copy of this out. Again, I started with, and we'll call this one hex, with just a simple, fast, my brain's gone. I started with a simple, fast cylinder. Kept part of it, made sure it was six-sided, and there we go. Okay, so let's do this last part. So we know that if we look at this, it does that wrong. So let's figure out how we can fix that. Well, the easiest way to fix it is to shore up some of these edges, which we already shored up this, so it's got a nice edge there. But the problem is that it's not shored up in this area. So we're going to do this. We're going to double click on this edge. We're going to double click on this edge. Double click on this edge. You're going to double click on this edge. And you're going to double click on this edge and this edge. I guess I should have just done it one. Well, and done R or Alt R. No, bad melon. There we go. If I'd done it right the first time, it might have worked. Okay, so I don't really want all of those though. I don't mind the ones in the middle, but I don't want, if I chamfer this right now, with all those selected, it's going to do this, and which is not a bad thing. And you can come back and do this for another version of it. I mean, this part's going to fade to nothing, so that's fine. But what I really want is just the hexagon in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and deselect this. Oops. Deselect this. Deselect this. Deselect this. You suck. Deselect this. Deselect this. And this is, I'm going to show you one of the problems you have with this. So what I could do is just chamfer. And the problem I have is this right here. So what do I do? I can keep it, I guess, but it looks kind of wonk. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to leave those selected. I'm going to use my magical swift loop and just do a swift loop around here, like that. Okay, and then I guess it didn't keep them. So I'll do one, and I'll deselect everything but that, and then I'll do Alt-R, and it goes around the outside, I think. Might as well just do these two. Otherwise I'll get ugly. And again, the funny thing is, it's me being picky about the ugly, not the ugly being picky about the ugly. Okay, so now when I do that chamfer, I start to get a little bit more of what I'm looking for. So one of the things that I used to do, and I can still do, and I'm not sure if I like this or not. Maybe I'll... Oh, first I'll only change it to 3. So I'm going to say okay. I did this earlier today, and it was a lot simpler. Let me do this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is before I do those chamfers. Okay, so I'm going to say, what I probably am going to do is, since I do have this locked first, what I'll do is I'll go Alt. You know, maybe I can just see if this will go to the top here. If I go there and there and there, and you know what, let me do it the right way though. So I have a snap tool, and my snap tool is set to, which I think we've talked about before, vertex and midpoint. I'm just going to hopefully, oh, that's great, it doesn't work for this. Okie dokie. So I'm not going to use that snap. Super cool. I'll just do this and that. So now I've got all that. And then I will do connect. Yeah, I'm not real crazy about that. I guess it's not horrible. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll take these verts and I'll stretch them so it's round. And I'll stretch them so they're round. And then we will do our magical delete. This one. Oh, that's part of the problem. And this is the kind of thing that you gotta think through too anyway. So sometimes these things come up, and that's what we do. We fix problems. As I said, we're puzzle people. Okay, so let's see if we get this. We can tweak it now. So we'll say symmetry, flip, and we'll say symmetry, Y, flip, and we'll see how it looks. It's almost round. It's not quite round. So we need to do a little bit more tweaking on the lower thing. We'll do this, and we'll see 1, and pull that in a little bit more. Oops, not that one. Pull this in a little bit. Actually, I think it's just this one needs to go out a little bit more. Yeah, let's see. If we do turbo smooth the top of it, it's pretty round. There we go. Okay, so not a huge problem, just another thing, right? So we need to collapse it at least, yeah, to get it to be to this point. So I'll delete this, I'll collapse it, convert to editable poly. Come back in here and try this again. This time we're going to do this one, go around, oops, and this one, and this one, go around. I know what I was doing. This one. And then I deselect these, and then I go around. No, what are you doing? Huh. That's an interesting turn of events. And I guess I don't want to go around anyway. I just want to do this one and this one and this one and this one and this one. Okay, so top Z, and we'll take a look. We don't want it here, we don't want it here, we don't want it here. Okay, and then we'll turn on our, I'll add a turbo smooth I can talk to. We'll come back into here, and we'll turn this off, show final results, and do this with those selected, which are the yellow ones, if you can't tell. And we'll do chamfer. Now there's a couple other things you could do. You could do, funny enough, extrude with 0 height, and that could do it too. But chamfer, if you add one more, works pretty good. I mean, it's the same thing we're gonna get. What I end up doing is cleaning up that little bit right there. So let me go to the top, look at this again, and say, this part doesn't matter. Again, we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for it looks good enough. So what I'll do is I'll just grab all of these and snap them. Grab all of these, snap them. I guess I could do it from the top easier. It's not those, it's these. And remember, we're not looking for model perfection. We're looking for visual perfection, right? So if we turn that off, we can see a slight thing going on through there, and we could probably do some more dancing and get that to work better. But when it's this big, it's still showing those creases pretty well. I'm not liking it, but that's a good enough solution for now. Again, it's going to be like this big, and then if we turn the lights back on, you know, to see what we see, it's going to be tiny because these are just little bolts. We can come back in, and we could probably do some more dancing, like I said, and come in here and do stuff like this. I wonder if I do target weld this piece too. Well, apparently I don't know what I grabbed. Oh. Let's see if we find this solution works magically, then we will leave it be. No, see, that made it worse.